Thanksgiving is almost here, so I picked out some of our favorites and I'm so excited to share them with you. And if you're anything like me, it's all about the side dishes and the desserts, of course. Hey y'all, I'm Valerie and welcome to my kitchen. In today's video, I'm sharing 7 of the best Thanksgiving dinner recipes that we look forward to every single year. Okay y'all, let's get started. This cheesy broccoli rice casserole is a family favorite. I'm starting out in a large skillet here. You'll need a pretty big one. I added 3 tablespoons of butter and half a diced onion. And I did dice that onion pretty small. I just let it saute until those onions get good and tender. I have a few that don't care for onions, so doing it this way, they don't really mind them being in there. Now I'm just adding about 1.5 tablespoons of minced garlic. I just stirred that around and let it cook for about 30 seconds or so. Now for the broccoli, you can use fresh, but I just used 2 of the 12-ounce bags of frozen but thawed broccoli florets, and I chopped these into pretty small pieces. And I just let that cook for about 10 minutes or so on about medium-low. I just like to give that broccoli a head start on cooking. That way I know it's how we like it when the casserole's done. And for the seasonings, I added 3/4 teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of pepper, 3/4 teaspoon each of garlic powder and oregano, half a teaspoon of paprika, and 1/4 teaspoon of mustard powder. Y'all gotta tell me, what is your #1 favorite Thanksgiving side dish? I think it's a tie between this and the macaroni and cheese in my house. After that broccoli was pretty warmed through, I added 4 ounces of the Velveeta Melting Cheese, and I cut mine into small cubes. You're also going to add 1 can of cream of chicken soup, 1/4 cup of sour cream, and 3/4 of a cup of milk, and I just used 2%. I just stirred that and let it continue to cook on medium-low until that Velveeta cheese was completely melted. And you know, if it's got Velveeta cheese in it, it's gonna be good. There's only a couple more things to add here. 2.5 cups of cooked white rice, and about 1.5 cups of shredded cheddar cheese. This is also a great way to use up leftover rice. If you have some hanging out in the refrigerator and you're not sure what to do with it, you could also make this casserole the day before. That's a little bit less work you have to do on Thanksgiving Day. I'm using a 9x13 baking dish, and I did, don't look like I did. You probably should spray that with nonstick spray. I just added in that cheesy broccoli rice mixture. You're just going to spread that out in there. And you could top this with like a Ritz cracker topping. It would be delicious, I'm sure. But I have several other things that I do the Ritz cracker topping on, so we like to just top this with 1.5 cups of shredded cheese. The kids like it better this way, and that way everything's not covered in Ritz crackers. Oh y'all, this has got me thinking about the pineapple casserole. That is one of my favorite side dishes ever. Okay, back to this broccoli rice casserole right quick. I baked it at 350 for about 35 minutes. And I did turn it on broil the last minute just to get that top golden brown. This right here is Lacey's favorite. Can y'all believe that girl does not like macaroni and cheese? But she'll eat a plate of this like there ain't nothing to it. And I don't blame her. We all love this one. This is my daddy's baked macaroni and cheese. also known as Papa's mac and cheese. To begin, in a large pot, I boiled up 16 ounces of elbow pasta, and I just cooked that according to the directions on the back of the box. Don't overcook it though, because it'll continue to cook as it bakes in the oven. When that was done, I removed it from the heat, drained it, and then poured half of those noodles into the bottom of a greased 9x13 baking dish. Then I placed on about 3 tablespoons of butter that I cut into thinner slices. Now you're going to sprinkle over a layer of salt and pepper. And I don't have an exact measurement for those. My daddy said just do it like this. Now for the cheese, I'm warning you, it's a lot. Right now I'm adding 3 to 4 cups of medium shredded cheddar cheese. We'll add the rest here shortly. Now I'm topping it with the other half of those noodles. I put down too much on that first layer. Then I added 3 more tablespoons of butter. I sprinkled on another layer of salt and pepper. Now we're topping it with another 3 or 4 cups of shredded cheese. I like to do a combination of medium and sharp here. But if you wanted, you could just do all sharp. So in total for the whole recipe, you'll end up using about 4 of those 8-ounce blocks of cheese. I know it's a lot, but it's worth it. Now push that casserole to the side. I'm making up a quick little mixture. In a large measuring cup, I added 1 egg. I gave that a whisk. Then I poured in 1 can of evaporated milk. I'll be using another can of that milk, but not just yet. Now give that a really good whisk. Then you're going to drizzle it evenly over the top of that macaroni and cheese. And y'all, don't skip out on the egg here. You have to have it. I don't know if it's a southern thing. Here in South Carolina, we always do egg in our macaroni and cheese. So you'll have to let me know below if you do the same. I opened a second can of that milk and I'm pouring that over the top too. My daddy uses 3 cans in his, but he makes his in those big aluminum tin pans. As long as that milk comes about 2/3 of the way up in that dish there. If not, add you another can. And this bakes at 375 for 35 to 45 minutes. Or until you can see that top get nice and golden brown. And don't that look delicious, y'all? This is hands down my family's #1 favorite side dish. And I have never known us to have a dinner without it. When we have a dinner, my daddy always says, "I'll make a mac and cheese." And the first time my husband had it, he said, "This is the real deal macaroni and cheese right here." And y'all, my sister, aka Aunt B, is not a cook. But she can whip up this mac and cheese and it's just as good as my daddy's. This is so easy to make and it is absolutely delicious. So trust me, you just gotta try it. I'm telling you right now, you have got to make this Buckeye Pie. To begin, in a large bowl, I added 1 block of softened cream cheese. And you do want to make sure that's softened, or else you won't be able to get it completely incorporated. I went ahead and mixed that until it was smooth and creamy. Next, you're going to add in a 16-ounce container of your favorite peanut butter. My jar was a little bigger. I think it was a 28-ounce jar. So if that's the same with yours, you'll need 1 3/4 cup of peanut butter. I would just make sure it's the creamy kind. Now you're going to mix this for about 2 minutes. Then you're going to go ahead and add in 2 cups of powdered sugar. I only added half at first so I wouldn't make a complete mess. That powdered sugar will go everywhere. And I knew this mixture was already pretty thick. I wasn't supposed to add in the heavy cream yet, but I thought that might help me to be able to mix it in a lot better. So I only added in a couple tablespoons of that. And now I'm just adding the rest of that powdered sugar. Just mix it until it's well combined. You don't want to see any lumps in there. After you get that mixed together, go ahead and scrape down the sides of your bowl just in case you missed anything. Now add 1/3 cup of heavy cream and 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Then you're going to blend all this together on high speed for 1 to 2 minutes until it's smooth and creamy. And this is what it should look like. You can make your own Oreo crust if you prefer, but I'm just using a pre-made chocolate crust. Or even a graham cracker one would work fine too. And I always save the little plastic inserts for these. You can flip them upside down and cover up your pie. I'm pouring in all that peanut butter filling here, and y'all, it's a lot. It'll fill up that pie crust, but that's what you want. Go ahead and smooth out that top just a little bit, and then we're going to set it aside while we make the chocolate ganache topping. In a large measuring cup, I have 3 ounces of semi-sweet chocolate chips. I'm adding in 3 tablespoons of heavy cream. Then you're just going to give that a little mix. And I'm just putting this in the microwave in 20 to 30-second intervals. Make sure you stir it in between. It may not look like it's completely melted, but give it a really good stir, and mine was ready to go. Now you're going to pour it right on top of that peanut butter filling. I wanted to make sure I got every last drop there. Smooth that out into a kind of a big circle there. I like to work from the center out. You don't have to, but it does look pretty if you don't go all the way to the edge. That way you have a little border of peanut butter shining through. And I couldn't just stop there. I had some Reese cups, so I chopped those things up and I sprinkled them over the top. This goes into the refrigerator to chill completely overnight until it's ready to serve. This pie was one of the best pies that I have ever had. I know that's a lot to say, but it was absolutely delicious. The peanut butter and chocolate was right up my alley. And for those of you that are getting tired of all the pumpkin spice and apple desserts, this one is for you. And it sets up so well. It really is like a little peanut butter ball in a pie. This one is my Southern cornbread dressing. I started out by sauteing some veggies. I've got a couple tablespoons of butter in the pan there, and to that I added 1 stalk of celery that I diced up and half a diced onion. And you can add more veggies here if you want, but my husband is not a big celery fan, so I don't add too much of that. I let those cook until they were tender and translucent. Now over to the counter, in a large bowl, I added 4 cups of biscuit crumbs that I just crumbled up with my hands, and 6 cups of cornbread crumbs. I was trying to mix this in that nice glass bowl here so it would look pretty for y'all, but there's no way I could have fit all this in here. So I transferred everything to a big cheap Dollar Tree bowl, and to those breadcrumbs I added those sauteed veggies, and for the seasonings I added a little salt and pepper to taste, and I also added 1.5 tablespoons of sage. Okay, this next ingredient may be a little controversial. I added in 6 boiled eggs, and I did chop those up pretty small. My grandma always added boiled eggs to her dressing, so that's why I do it. But you can totally omit them if you want. I also added in 1 stick of melted butter and 4 to 5 cups of chicken broth. Just add the broth depending on how wet or dry you like your dressing. And now's a great time to taste it and add more seasonings if you want. And when you're happy with the taste, go ahead and add in 3 beaten eggs. This will help to hold the dressing together. Then mix all that until it is very well combined. I'm making this in a 9 by 13 inch baking dish. I spooned in that dressing mixture because that bowl was way too big and floppy to try to lift and dump in at the same time. Then I covered it with plastic wrap and let it sit in the refrigerator overnight until I was ready for it. Then this bakes at 375, uncovered, for about 40 to 45 minutes. Top this with some gravy, and this is like one of the best side dishes ever. Especially if you're from the South. You're sure to find dressing on everyone's holiday dinner table. I really think you're going to love this cream cheese corn casserole. I'm starting out in a large bowl. I added an 8-ounce block of softened cream cheese, and I was so proud of myself. I didn't have to microwave it that time. I usually forget to set it out. But I also added in 4 tablespoons of melted butter. So the recipe says to add these 2 ingredients to a saucepan and cook it over low heat until that cream cheese and butter melt. But I think mixing it this way with the hand mixer did the trick. Go ahead and add some pepper to taste and 1/3 cup of milk. Now you're going to mix that together really good until it's very well combined. Next, you're going to add in 4 cups of frozen corn, and I did let mine thaw out just a little bit. You can also add in some diced jalapenos to taste. That was in the recipe, but I left those out. You can stir this with a spoon, or you can do like me. I already had my hand mixer out, so I just gave it a really good mix. I'm using an 8 by 8 inch baking dish for this. I did spray it with nonstick spray, and now I'm just adding in that creamy, cheesy corn. By the way, my sweet friend Miss Barbara requested a coconut pie. I'll be making that soon because that sounded so good. So if anyone else has a request for something that you want to see me make, please feel free to let me know in the comments below. Okay, so I topped this casserole with 1 cup of shredded cheddar cheese. I also sprinkled over a little parsley, but I probably should have waited till after it came out of the oven to do that. I put this in the oven to bake at 350 for 20 minutes. Here it is, all bubbly and melty. This is definitely a recipe I'll be making again and again. And not just for the holidays. It was simple to make, it came together quick, and everyone loved it. I'm curious, what is your favorite holiday side dish? You know, something that you just don't go to a holiday dinner without? Ours has to be my daddy's mac and cheese. I also like pineapple casserole, and of course dressing and gravy. This corn casserole was so good. We loved it. These smothered green beans are a family favorite. In a large skillet, I added 1 sliced onion along with 2 tablespoons of butter. I just sauteed those just to soften them up a little bit. Next, I've got 1 pound of bacon. I'm using this irregular bacon that I got from Aldi. Mama Mel always uses this, so I figured I'd give it a try. I just used my kitchen shears to chop it up into small pieces. Now you're just going to stir that up and cook that bacon until it's almost done, but not crispy. Now I'm taking this over to the counter so I can put it all together. And this green bean casserole is a really good alternative for those of you that don't like the traditional green bean casserole. It's just a little something different. And right now I'm making up a quick little sauce to pour over the top. In a small bowl, I added 2/3 cup of brown sugar, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/4 cup of melted butter, and 1/4 cup of the low sodium soy sauce. I also added 1 teaspoon of minced garlic, and I just used the kind in the jar. Next, just kind of break that brown sugar up and just mix it until it's well combined. I'm using a 9 by 13 baking dish for this. You'll need 5 cups of canned green beans. I'm using these whole green beans. You're just going to drain them and add them right on into the dish. And you'll see me kind of picking through the green beans here. Sometimes they have little stems in there, so you just want to make sure you get those out. And I did want to add a little something extra to this. When we have green beans, we usually always have some kind of potato in there. And I had 2 red potatoes, so I just diced those up and added those in. I think next time I'm going to add 1 more. I just wasn't sure if they would all fit in this casserole dish. So next time I make it, I might take away 1 can of green beans and add a few extra potatoes. Now I'm just taking the bacon and onions and spreading that on top. I could have done this in a large mixing bowl, but I didn't think that far ahead. So after I got everything in here, I kind of tossed them around to try to mix it all together. Now we're going to top everything with that brown sugar melted butter sauce we made up just a little bit ago. Hey, while I'm thinking about it, if you love easy recipes, I would really love to have you here. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. That way you get notified of all my future videos. Okay, the recipe says to bake this uncovered at 350 for 40 minutes. But y'all know I don't always follow the directions. So I covered it after 15 minutes because I was afraid that that bacon would get a little too brown. And I ended up letting this bake for 1 hour. This turned out so good. Craig is not super crazy about the regular green bean casserole with the cream of mushroom soup, but he loved this one. You could even make this the day before and put it together and bake it and everything, and just let it cool completely, cover it tightly, and then stick it in the refrigerator. And then the next day, all you have to do is cover it tightly with foil, pop it in the oven, and warm it up. You could probably do like 350 for about 20 minutes. This has that sweetness to it, which made it amazing. My aunt stopped by this night and she had her a little sample. Now, she's supposed to be on a low-carb diet, and she mentioned trying this with the sugar-free brown sugar substitute, and I think that would totally work. Sometimes those tend to be a little sweeter, so I would probably reduce it to half the amount. But these are a must-try. This pineapple casserole is a southern recipe for sure. I'm using 2 cans of pineapple chunks. I'm draining both cans, but I'm going to reserve that juice. I'll need it here in a little bit. I added those pineapple chunks to a separate bowl. Oh, and I set that reserved juice to the side. You'll have to let me know if you've ever had pineapple casserole, or if you've had it, you'll have to let me know what you thought about it. So now to a separate bowl, I added 1 cup of granulated sugar, 6 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, and 2 cups of sharp, shredded cheddar cheese. I tossed everything around a little bit, then I added in those drained pineapple chunks. And try not to make a mess here like I did. You're just going to do your best to mix it until it's well combined. Now it's time to put it all in the casserole dish. I'm using a 9x9 for this, and I did grease it just to make sure nothing stuck to the bottom. You're just going to pour in that cheese and pineapple mixture and just kind of try to spread it out evenly. We are going to make a topping for this, which is going to make it even better. I set that casserole to the side, then in a separate bowl, I added 1 stick of melted butter, 6 tablespoons of that reserved pineapple juice, and 1 sleeve of Ritz crackers that I crushed up with my rolling pin. You know, I think I use it to crush Ritz crackers more than I use it for anything else. Okay, after you get those crushed and added to that pineapple butter mixture, you're just going to give it a quick little mix until it's combined. Now you can grab that casserole dish and spoon it evenly over the top. Now, I wasn't quite ready to bake this, so I just covered it with some plastic wrap and popped it in the refrigerator until I was ready to put it in the oven. And then whenever you're ready for it, it bakes at 350 for 25 to 35 minutes, or until that top is golden brown. And y'all, I know it sounds like a crazy combination with the pineapple and cheese, but you just have to trust me on this. It is my favorite. I really hope you enjoyed this video. You may also like these. Don't forget to subscribe down below for more easy recipes. And I want to wish you a very happy Thanksgiving. I love you all, and I will see you in the next one.